The Zimbabwean entertainment industry is largely male-dominated. Though some women have entered the event promotion space, two have stood out. Chiedza and Ellinah Chipumha run Zimbabwe's premier blankets and wine event, Unplugged. For the past 5 years, Unplugged has been held 50 times with 128 unique acts, attracting between 3,000 to 4,000 people. Join us as they tell us more about their endeavor.
Me and Chiedza met probably when I was 1 and she was one day old. That's actually how we met. Our parents basically went to high school together and then they went to university together. So yeah, that's how we actually first met, and we've been friends ever since childhood.
Unplugged really came about through a shared passion for music that we have. When we came back from university from abroad, we found that one of the things that was missing was a sort of culture of live music. We thought it would be nice to introduce something that was outdoors and that was really centered around live music. Of course, it's not a new concept. It's very much a borrowed concept. It's something that happens in lots of different parts of the world. We've actually attended the Blankets and Wine Festival that takes place in East Africa and kind of modeled our event around that, thinking that, there was nothing like that in Zimbabwe.
I think it's a combination of two things. One, the love for music that we have. We really, really love locally produced music. And then number two, we saw that there was a gap in the market. There weren't any outdoor events then, afternoon outdoor family-friendly events. So it was a combination of both. We needed something which was outdoors, which was afternoon, where you could go with your family and your friends.
The only reason I would say that we're sort of well-known is because we do a lot of things, like a lot of media outreach and a lot of interviews and things like that, and that's really just basically to lift up the brand. But there are a lot of women that are active in the space. We do have some friends who are peers in the space and who are doing an incredible job and have really paved the way in a lot of ways for us. Particularly initially when we were approaching sponsors, there was this expectation that an event of this scale could only be run by men or must be being run by men. So when we sit in front of some of the execs, they'd be like, so...
where's your boss?
So it's challenging in that respect, but I also think that it's also worked in our favor because, particularly on the artist side, they tend to be a little kinder to us. So I think that's worked in our favor.
I think what's motivated us is because the feedback we got from the very first shows, we could see the growth. People were really positive about it, and we knew that, yes, we are going to have 1 or 2 or 3 hard years, which we had 3, but the reason why we continued was because we could see the growth. We knew what it was building into. People loved the show. We got positive feedback. And yeah, and after 3 years, it started, when we were about to give up, it started really growing and really kind of blowing up in a way.
I think the other thing, just to add on to what Ellinah said as well, is when you see the impact on the actual artists themselves, seeing that we've contributed to the creation of creative industry itself in this country, I think has also been a strong motivator for us. There's artists that we started off with at our first shows that are now household names, and it's through platforms like Unplugged that they've really been able to build, develop on their craft and really build a name for themselves.
Because we love the music, we love music, we love the arts, we sort of noticed that there was that gap where they really didn't have a lot of places to go, where it was free to go and probably develop their craft, right? So we started this July last year. It's a 6-month program where we took in about 15 up-and-coming musicians. So they would have a number of workshops, which were a whole different range of things, from finance, from performance, from branding yourself, etc. And it was a 6-month program which we ran. Hopefully they learned a lot. And then we had a show for them at the end of the year, which for most of them was their very first live performance at Allianz Francaise. And they did exceptionally well. People took very well to the show. And at the end of the year, they performed at Unplugged, which was, for all of them, their biggest show that they've ever performed at.
In the next few years to come, well, here in Zimbabwe, we've actually just transformed it into a festival. So rather than having monthly events, we're going to be doing it 3 times a year. And we're basically just scaling it up and turning it into a more experiential event, if you will. And of course, part and parcel of that is ensuring that we have more artists from across Africa and beyond coming to share the stage with our local artists and trying to develop collaborations as well. Beyond that, I would say probably 5-10 years from now, we hope that Unplugged Zimbabwe is not just a platform or a singular event. It's actually a creative hub that is comparable to anything that you would get in any other part of the world, really.
I think don't be discouraged, because I feel the arts is not really a sector that is not taken very seriously here in Zimbabwe, or I don't know if it's Africa as a whole. So I think don't be discouraged if you're a musician, if you're whatever you do in the arts. I think go for it, keep going for it, and you eventually get where you want to go, I guess.
The only other thing that I would add is make sure you do your homework. You can't just dive in head first without having done a little bit of market research and understanding who your consumer is, understanding what their patterns of behavior are. That's really from the sort of, I guess, enterprise side of things.